Writing is getting a job. When you write a good cover letter, it will get you noticed by employers. Guaranteed. Write a good cover letter that's not only well written as far as punctuation, grammar, mechanics, but one that really fully expresses who you are and what you've done. It will get you noticed. It might not get you the job. You have to get that on your own, but it will get you noticed. Stephen Jobs writing something on his iPad. It's writing is expressing an opinion. That's actually a quote from a Kanye West song. So yeah, so songs are writing. Songwriting is writing. Poetry is writing. Text messaging is writing. You all do that, right? Emailing is writing. If you have a Twitter account and you send out tweets, that's all writing. Writing is changing your life. Writing can change your life, and I can't say that enough. Writing changed my life just because it took me all over the country. It's taken me into people's homes that I would never have met before. It's helped me meet, people who've survived the most horrible tragedies. It's gotten me to meet serial killers. It's gotten me to be, in the front row when the Pope was here. It's gotten me to be in the front row when their president's here. It's gotten me to meet ordinary people who have these extraordinary stories to tell. And it changed me. Not only because I got to meet these people, but with every person, every story I hear, it changes me and it makes me a better person. Writing does that. Writing makes us better people because it gets us to thinking. It's a very analytical way of thinking. So the more you write, the better you will get at solving problems. Right. Writing changes other people's lives. Okay. How many of you have studied his letter from Birmingham jail? Yes? Yes? No? No? Okay. Well, that letter changed the world. He wrote a letter from the jail that eventually changed the world, changed the society, was really instrumental in the civil rights fight. One letter can do that. Writing is blogging, singing, acting, drawing, writing movies, telling stories. If you want to write a movie, anybody? No? Yes? That's changing, yes? That can change the world. It has the power to change the world. Tupac? Tarantino? Anybody who wants to start a blog? Start a blog. It makes it, yeah. It's easy now, right? Now, and one of the things about living in the time period we live in now, anybody can be a writer now. It used to be that in order to be a writer, you had to have a book contract. You had to have somebody, be able to pay you money. You had to have some kind of professional degree. Now, you can start your own blog. You can start a Twitter account and start writing. Be careful of what you write, because anybody can read it, and it will always be out there. But anybody can publish now. You can write your own thoughts with a blog. Writing is thinking, dreaming, doing, analyzing, exploring, empathizing, creating, celebrating, and living. Again, I go back to, people don't write love letters anymore, do they? Email isn't the same, and I'm not talking about email. People used to write love letters. That's how people courted each other. That's how people fell in love. I found, over the summer, I was visiting my parents, and I found these letters my mom had written my father when they were just married. My father was ready here in the United States. My mother was about to come here with us from Ecuador. And she wrote all these love letters to my father about the dreams of their lives here in the United States, the dream that this wonderful life they would have together. And their little daughters running around, and she described me as like a little terror. But when I read it, it took me to another place, and I realized through those letters that she had preserved the love that she had for my father at that time. That's something that will always be preserved. That's something that will always be saved. That's part of why he probably fell in love with her, because of these letters back and forth. Right? Any of the guys in here? Write a love letter to a girl you like? Oh my God. Forget it. Forget it. She will fall for you immediately. Albert Einstein actually was a very good writer. Just examples. Writing makes sense of things that sometimes make no sense. If anybody keeps a journal, you know what I mean. I kept a journal through most of my life. I still do occasionally. It's a way of helping me make sense of things that sometimes don't have an answer. When there's nobody else I can talk to, when things are confusing in my own mind, I keep a journal. I keep a journal when I read sometimes to help me better understand what I'm reading, and that will help me understand it. If I'm reading something that's very complicated, I'm actually in grad school now to get my master's in education. So sometimes when I'm reading, it's very dense kind of textbooky language, you know? And it's kind of, I'm reading it, and I'm like, this is boring, I don't know why I'm reading this. I keep a journal, a reading journal, to help me understand. Because again, when you write, it helps you do that analytical thinking. The more you write, the better you will become at thinking analytically. So for any of you who want to be engineers or scientists, writing taps into that part of your brain. So think about that as you're writing. Writing is telling your story, whether it's an email or an essay, a college application or job application, a text message or a best-selling novel. Your words tell the world who you are. So this is, and I don't think you can see it that well, but this is a photo of Anthony Shadid, who was a journalist for the New York Times. I never met him, did not know him at all, except through his words. He died last month when he was in Syria. He had an asthma attack, an unexpected asthma attack, and died when he was covering the news in Syria. The photographer he was with actually had to carry his body across the border to Turkey because they weren't supposed to be in Syria. And if they found out that they were actually in Syria, they would never have let his body out. So the photographer picked him up and carried his body across the border. I have never met Anthony Shadid. Like I said, I don't know him. I have friends who know him. The way I know him is through his words. He covered the news in Iraq and Arab countries. He was of Lebanese descent. But he made it human. He told the stories of the people who were affected by the war. He just didn't talk about politics. He didn't just talk about, government. He talked about the people affected in the war. And through him, I got to know the people there, through his words. So that when he died, I was very affected by his death because it was somebody who had touched me personally. And I just want to read you something he wrote so that you can see why I was touched by him. Okay. This is the lead of a story that he wrote out of Lebanon. The bulldozer slowly clawed at the rubble Sunday, in motions gentle for a machine. In its path were what was left of life, a bag of onions and a can of beans, a dirt-crusted sandal, a baby bottle, a plaid bag with a diaper still tucked inside, and a punctured picture of a young boy, posing awkwardly, his arms stiff at his side. As the sun arced overhead, Israeli shelling thundering in the distance, shouts went out. Stop, stop. Rescuers surged. Then one emerged, his back slightly stooped. Cradled in his arms was the 27th victim, pulled from a partially buried room that had sheltered 63 people in the southern Lebanese village of Kana. The victim's name was Abbas Hashem, and he was 1 year old. His blue pacifier still dangled from his green tank top. That's war. He summed up the cost of war in 2 paragraphs. This isn't just faceless people. This is a baby pulled out of the rubble with his pacifier still in his mouth. That's the cost of war. That's the power of words. For all the people who never met Anthony Shadid, who will never meet him, who will never meet this baby, those words, the power of writing, makes me see what the cost of war really is. Again, that's the power of writing. That's from a professional writer. For all of you, the power of writing comes in reaching your dreams, in being able to achieve your dreams. Ms. Diaz had asked me to talk a little bit about a story I did about Rice University. Rice University, one of the best schools in the country, right? has the best reputation. They discovered this year, or these past few years, that students coming to Rice were not able to write well, that they were having trouble writing. So even students getting into Rice had trouble writing well. And once they got into Rice, there was no writing requirement, so they were getting up to the upper levels without being able to write, and they were starting to fail their classes. Because engineers, scientists, everybody still needs to know how to write. So this year, they're going to start a writing program at Rice, where everyone's required to take a writing class. Because, again, without that writing skill, you cannot succeed. You have to have that writing skill in order to do well, no matter what career path you take, no matter what you do in life. The thing I want you to walk away with, too, is that there's no magic to writing. Everybody can write. You know? People on the outside think there's something magical about writing, that you go up in the attic at midnight and cast the bones and come down in the morning with a story. But it isn't like that. You sit in the back of the typewriter, or in your case, keyboard, because nobody has a typewriter, and you work, and that's all there is to it. Writing is working. There's nothing magical about it. Some people might have a natural gift for writing, but everybody can be a good writer. I'm convinced of that. I know that for a fact. Writing is sitting, working, deciding what you want to write, and reading what other people write and learning from them. It's saying, okay, I want this job. What do I have to tell this person in order to get this job? I want this internship. What do I have to let them know about me in order to get this internship? I want this girl to go out with me. There's a way to go out with me. What do I have to tell them in order to get their attention? You know? So I want to tell my mother that I love her. I want her to know that I love her. How do I write that in a greeting card? You know, all of those things are writing. You know? I want to tell a funny story at the dinner table. How do I tell it well? All of that is writing. All of that makes a difference in our lives. I think I'm over time. Okay, that's all I want to say. That's what you wanted me to say. Yeah.